This is Joe Biden. On October 22, 2021, CNN hosted a presidential town hall where an audience member asked Biden about inflation.
With rising gas prices and utility prices and grocery prices, we're feeling our discretionary income get squeezed and reduced. What plans does the administration have to help ease this kind of current crunch we're feeling?
Well, there's a number of things that have already been done. And it's hard, and people don't think about it. The American Rescue Plan has provided for an awful lot. The $1.9 billion we passed right after I got elected.
So the question was, what are you going to do about high gas, energy, and grocery prices? And Biden was like, we passed a plan back in March.
So what you got is you got that $1,400 check in the mail. You got a lot of things that help ameliorate some of the concerns and costs because we knew what we were coming into.
Biden addressed this woman's concern about inflation happening right now by saying, remember the $1,400 stimulus check that we sent you 7 months ago? Come on, man. And let's talk about those infamous stimulus checks for a second. Remember when Biden and his fellow Democrat liars promised to send out $2,000 checks if Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff were elected to the Senate?
Their election will put an end to the block in Washington on that $2,000 stimulus check.
They will make decisions about whether we give people a $2,000 check when they have been out of work for months.
We will be able to pass $2,000 stimulus checks for the people next week.
$2,000 stimulus check.
But then, after the election, that $2,000 check suddenly became a $1,400 check.
The American Rescue Plan is going to keep the commitment of $2,000. $600 has already gone out. $1,400 checks to people who need it. They're going to be $1,400, period. That's what the American people were promised.
Bullshit. So back to this lady's question, which was, what are you going to do about these high prices going forward? Here's more of Biden's response.
But in terms of being able to have what my dad used to say, a little breathing room. Just a little, my dad busted his neck. He didn't have a good paying job. My dad was a well-read, high school educated guy.
Oh my God, this guy cannot shut up about his damn family.
But my dad was one of those guys that worked like hell, come home for dinner, and then he'd go back and finish up work and close the shop. And the whole point of it was that all we want to give, all he'd talk about is, Joey, all I need is just a little breathing room, a little space, a little space.
So Biden's response to this woman's concerns was, 70 years ago, my dad had problems too. The most empathetic president ever. Anyway, Anderson Cooper was somehow able to steer things back on track, and Biden started talking about why gas prices are high.
Do you think there's do you have a timeline for gas prices of when you think they may start coming down?
My guess is you'll start to see gas prices come down as we get by and going into the winter, into next year in 2022.
In other words, he had no answers and didn't have a plan. I know you're shocked. So around the time of the CNN town hall, the national average price of gasoline was at $3.32 a gallon. 3 weeks later, on November 8th, it hit a 7-year high of $3.41. So 2 weeks later, on November 23rd, with gas prices the highest in years, Biden was forced to address it.
You know, today, though, I want to address another challenge that families are facing, and the one I think they're most focused on right now, high gas prices. Of course, it's always painful when gas prices spike.
81 million votes, guys.
Today, the price of gas in America on average is $3.40 a gallon. In California, it's much higher. The impact is real, but the fact is we've faced even worse spikes before, just in the last decade.
Now, even though gas prices are higher than they've been in years, and people are worrying about what's happening right now, Biden's saying, yeah, sure, gas prices are high, but they were high in the past too. So helpful.
We saw it in 2012 when the price of gasoline hit $3.90. We saw it in 2014 when it hit $3.69. And as recently as 2019, we saw it surpass $3 in many places.
Okay, Let's rewind and fact check each part of that statement.
We saw it in 2012 when the price of gasoline hit $3.90.
According to Federal Reserve economic data, on April 2nd, 2012, the national average price of gasoline hit a high of $3.94 a gallon. He was 4 cents off, so we'll give him a pass.
We saw it in 2014 when it hit $3.69.
On April 28th, 2014, the national average price hit a high for the year at $3.71 a gallon. So again, Biden's only a couple cents off. This is totally acceptable.
And as recently as 2019, we saw it surpass $3 in many places.
On May 6, 2019, the national average price of gasoline hit a high for the year at $2.89 a gallon. But you see what he did there, right? He said it surpassed $3 in many places. In other words, he's not referring to the national average anymore. And it was worded that way specifically to mislead people into thinking that gas prices were high during the Trump administration. Ugh, he is so slimy.
This is a problem.
Next, for no real reason, Biden pointed out that gas prices in other countries are even higher than they are here in the United States.
The price of gasoline has reached record levels recently in Europe and in Asia. In France, at the end of last month, it reached about $7 per gallon. In Japan, it's about $5.50 per gallon, the highest it's been in years.
Who cares? Americans are concerned about gas prices here, in America. So instead of Biden admitting that his garbage energy policy is a factor, he decided to point fingers at everyone else.
The big part of the reason Americans are facing high gas prices is because oil-producing countries and large companies have not ramped up the supply of oil quickly enough to meet the demand.
So he's blaming other countries for not giving us oil fast enough. Of course, he could try and encourage oil production right here in the United States, but that would go against his climate policy. Here's Biden's Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
No, it's pathetic. During the Trump administration, the United States became a net total energy exporter. But thanks to Joe Biden, we're now relying on geopolitical adversaries for the bulk of our energy supply, putting our national security at risk, all in the name of clean energy.
I also want to briefly address one myth about inflated gas prices. They're not due to environmental measures. My effort to combat climate change is not raising the price of gas or increasing its availability. What it's doing, it's increasing the availability of jobs.
Right, so let's take Biden's word for it. High gas prices are totally not his fault, but he does have an idea who the real culprit is.
I've asked the Federal Trade Commission to consider whether potentially illegal and anti-competitive behavior in the oil and gas industry is causing higher prices for consumers, so we can assure the American people are paying a fair price for their gasoline.
Spoiler alert, the FTC isn't going to find any proof of illegality, not a shred of evidence. But Biden needs to shift the blame from his failed energy policies onto everybody else, because that's what Democrats do. So going back to the CNN town hall for a minute, Biden said that there was something that he could do to lower gas prices, but he seemed reluctant to do it.
I could go in the petroleum reserve and take out and probably reduce the price of gas maybe 18 cents or so a gallon. It's still going to be above $3.
Biden is talking about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or SPR, which is essentially an emergency stockpile of crude oil. In the past, the federal government has sold oil taken from the SPR to fund the deficit. However, it's never been used as a political ploy to gain favor with voters. Well, not until November, that is.
So today I'm announcing that the largest ever release from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve to help provide the supply we need as we recover from this pandemic.
Except that supply is a total of 50 million barrels. And while that sounds like a lot,
That's a drop in the bucket, since the U.S. uses about 18 million barrels a day. That was news to the Energy Secretary.
How many barrels of oil does the U.S. consume per day? I don't have that number in front of me, sir.
So in other words, Biden and his clueless team removed 50 million barrels from the emergency supply in the middle of a non-emergency and didn't even know that it was only worth 2.5 days of supply.
The bottom line, today we're launching a major effort to moderate the price of oil, an effort that will span the globe in its reach and ultimately reach your corner gas station, God willing.
So the question is, did it? Did it lower gas prices at your corner gas station? Well, the answer will not surprise you. So the day after Joe Biden made his announcement to use the SPR as a political tool, the national average of a gallon of gas, according to AAA, was just under $3.40.
The question everyone wants to know tonight, how soon will President Biden's announcement late today affect prices at the pump?
Well, David, it will take 13 days for that oil to be released from the emergency reserve. But economists say the markets are already feeling the effect of the president's decision. So Americans can expect to see those prices come down at the pump in a matter of days.
And 13 days later, the national average cost of a gallon of gas dropped nearly 5 cents to $3.35. And apparently, it was time to celebrate.
A big economic relief for millions of Americans who have been dealing with soaring energy prices. Cost at the pump finally easing up, with the national average for a gallon of regular falling to $3.35, the lowest since October. Just look at that.
Meanwhile, the Energy Information Administration forecast that retail gasoline prices would average $3.13 a gallon in December before falling to $3.01 in January. Unfortunately, neither of those things happened. Retail gasoline prices averaged $3.31 for both December and January, and by February 4th, 2022, prices rose to $3.42, which was now the highest of Biden's presidency, and also the highest in over 7 years.
Look, average people are getting clobbered by the cost of everything today. Gas prices at the pump are up. We're working to bring them down, but they're up.
Oh good, they're still working on it. We can rest easy, guys.
Well, let me tell you what we are doing, of course. We, of course, tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Sometimes that takes some time to be digested into the system.
It's been 2.5 months, Red. How much more time do you need?
We've also worked with a number of countries around the world to do something similar. We've been engaged with OPEC nation countries about the need for the supply available to meet the demand.
And yet, despite these moves, gas prices are at record highs, so great job, guys. Now, there is a solution to all this, and Ed Lawrence from Fox Business pointed it out.
What about encouraging the investment in drilling in other places in the U.S.?
Again, I think the president's view is that we are, it is a huge advantage to us to be a leader in the clean energy transition. And over the course of years and decades, we've become a clean energy superpower because ultimately that's not just where the jobs are, it's where the strategic advantage will lie in 10, 20, 30 years.
So what Orange Woman Bad is saying is that it's totally okay to encourage foreign countries to produce oil, but having it produced here in the United States would be bad because we're a clean energy superpower or something. And we have to set a good example. That is classic not in my backyard bullshit right there. So it seems we're gonna be dealing with high gas prices for a while. But at least we have a president who understands your pain.
Look, I grew up in a family where if the price for a gallon of gas at the pump went up significantly, it was felt by the family. I get it, I understand.
Oh my God, shut up about your f***ing family. Anyway, that's it for now. Make sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, check out these videos that you may have missed, and as always, I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.